What if the land of peace and prosperity suddenly shattered into a battlefield of shadows and silence? Germany's chancellor, Friedrich MS, recently dropped a bombshell: we no longer live in peace. Imagine a nation once known for stability now caught in the grip of a hybrid war: drone strikes, espionage, covert assassinations, sabotage, and daily cyber attacks. The echo of threats to politicians and business magnates hangs heavy in the air. This isn't fiction. Every second person in that room faces digital invasions targeting their very networks and infrastructure. Is Germany at war? Officially, no. Yet the pounding heart of peace has stopped. At a summit in Berlin, MS didn't hold back. Not only did he acknowledge the shadow warfare, but he also shocked his own coalition. With steel in his voice, he declared the upcoming ban on internal combustion engines in 2035 must be scrapped. Why? Because no government should impose a technological future dictated by ideology. Translated plainly, Germany risks losing its industrial edge if it dances any longer to the climate agenda's tune. The stakes couldn't be higher. Behind this defiance lies a painful truth: what if saving the planet costs the country its very power? But then, MS shifted gears, turning the spotlight onto Ukraine. At a recent gathering of small and medium business leaders, he affirmed, Germany stands without question alongside Ukraine. Ukraine defends the freedom of all Europe. He spoke fiercely in defense of NATO and the European Union, condemning Putin's war as a brutal show of power because he can. Yet these harsh words carried a quiet admission underneath: Germany is trapped in a conflict without peace, without an exit. As the cold wind of uncertainty sweeps through Europe, Germany teeters on a razor's edge. The industrial giant wrestles with the pressure of global politics and internal dissent. Is it on the cusp of losing its sovereignty to outside forces? The shadow of war, economic upheaval, and political fractures is no longer distant. It has arrived. The question now is, what will break first, Germany's resolve or its role as the continent's leader? Germany openly declared its unwavering support for Ukraine, calling it the defender of Europe's freedom. The chancellor stood firm behind NATO and the European Union, accusing Putin of waging war simply because he can. These harsh words unveiled a grim admission: Germany is caught in a conflict with no peace in sight, trapped with no clear exit. The tension is thick as pharmaceutical exports to the United States, worth €27 billion, face threats of collapse. Experts warn of a looming trade war that could cripple production. Yet, the European Union remains silent while demand for concessions from the US grows louder. What is driving Germany into this deadlock? On September 27, Volodymyr Zelensky delivered a press conference that sent chills through diplomatic halls. He issued a stark warning to Moscow: if there's a blackout in Kiev, expect one in Moscow. Such words drip with nuclear undertones, sharpening the stakes to a razor's edge. Zelensky confirmed that Ukraine has submitted a defensive aid request totaling $90 billion, including long-range weapons. Yet, moments later, he confessed, we lack the strength to reclaim lost territories. Let's agree to a ceasefire, rest, and then recover the land. This hesitation is seismic. It signals Kiev's first hint at freezing the conflict. Still, Zelensky pressed NATO fiercely, lamenting the alliance's reluctance to intercept Russian drones. Fear paralyzes allies who hesitate to act. In one breath, Zelensky's message holds an ultimatum to Moscow, a scolding to NATO, and a whispered admission of weakness, brewing chaos in perfect balance. Meanwhile, Alexander Lukashenko, dismissed by many as a lost cause, unexpectedly stepped into the spotlight. I am ready to talk with Zelensky, he declared, imploring Slavic unity. We must negotiate, or else everything will be lost. Lukashenko revealed there's a compelling proposal on the table, a plan Trump took to Washington. Reflecting back, he said stopping the conflict in 2022 could have saved Ukraine's eastern regions, save for Crimea. The failure to halt turned into loss, and now, without pause, the entire country risks vanishing. These aren't mere words, they're a chilling forecast from a Moscow ally, a warning echoing down corridors of power: your end is near. The bombshell didn't stop there. The Nord Stream pipelines erupted into a scandal. Sarah Wagenknecht boldly claimed, if Ukraine is behind the sabotage, supporting them is foolish. She cited German prosecutors linking Ukrainians to the attacks. Stefan Koter, a Bundestag member, dropped a brutal remark: if Nord Stream belonged to America, Ukraine's president would already be at Guantanamo Bay, carried away by Navy SEALs. Silence met this accusation in German parliament, but the words hang heavy, accusing national betrayal. This isn't fringe rhetoric anymore, it's a stance gaining momentum. On another front, tension exploded as the US imposed 100% tariffs on medicine imports. Germany exports a quarter of its pharmaceutical products to America, €27 billion at stake. The risk of a trade war haunts experts, with production teetering on collapse. Trump's blunt message was clear: want exemptions? Build your factories here. Shock rippled across Germany while the EU watched quietly, unmoved. The writing on the wall is stark: Germany faces unprecedented pressure. Is Europe crumbling from within, torn by alliances and economic battles? The clock is ticking, and the next moves may determine the fate of a continent. What will Germany choose, stand firm or break under the strain? In the previous chapter, we saw Poland's president sign strict new rules for Ukrainian refugees: work and pay taxes for benefits, send kids to Polish schools, and no free ride anymore. This wasn't just a policy change, it was a direct blow to millions. Poland's also gearing up with a tough new law targeting nationalist ideology. The game in Europe is shifting fast. Now, picture Germany standing at a crossroads, teetering on the edge of a cliff. On one side, it's allied with Ukraine, NATO, and the United States. On the other, a rising tide of right-wing forces lashes out in fury, unsatisfied with soaring energy prices, unbearable tariffs, and shrinking freedoms. Voices like Sarah Wagenknecht, the Alternative for Germany party, and Hungary's Viktor Orban are forming a rebellious new coalition within Europe's fractured heart. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, Donald Trump plays his powerful tariff card, shaking Germany's pharmaceutical exports worth €27 billion, threatening an economic storm. In Kiev, Zelensky's warnings to Moscow escalate like an ominous drumbeat, while Belarus' Lukashenko offers whispered deals behind the scenes. This is no chaotic jumble of headlines, it's the detailed portrait of an era unraveling at the seams. Germany, once the symbol of stability, now wrestles with its identity. Europe's unity dissolves into competing camps. The contrast couldn't be starker: children clutching candy in innocent cardboard cones, while adults steel themselves for battles over energy blackouts, tariffs, and political betrayals. This haunting divide cuts deep, a festival of life for some, a grim finale for others. This is no forecast to ignore. The reality is already unfolding. Germany is no longer a peaceful haven. Europe is splintered, uncertain. Ukraine's future hangs in the balance. The United States strikes hard at pharma, Russia follows its own path, and Western hopes for a quick collapse of Russia reveal themselves as illusions. Autumn looms with decisions that will shape everything. The critical question echoes louder than ever: will Germany withstand the storm, or are we witnessing the dawn of a new epoch marked by collapse and betrayal? The fate of Europe hangs here, suspended between the promises of yesterday and the harsh truths of tomorrow. In the backdrop of political turmoil, Germany finds itself at a critical juncture. The nation, once seen as a bastion of stability, is now grappling with uncertain alliances and internal dissent. Prime Minister Friedrich MS has sentimentally declared that Germany is no longer at peace. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky intensifies threats against Moscow, leaving the world pondering: is this the dawn of a new geopolitical crisis? Germany exports a staggering €27 billion worth of pharmaceuticals to the United States, but now, this vital industry teeters on the brink of collapse. Experts warn of an impending trade war, and Donald Trump, unwavering, proclaims, want exceptions? Build factories here. The shockwaves ripple through Germany, yet the European Union appears paralyzed, silent in the face of mounting economic pressures. Can a once strong Germany remain passive amid such upheaval? Then there is Hungary's Viktor Orban, whose remarks cut like a knife: Brussels seeks to replace me with a compliant politician. As he challenges the EU's refusal to send aid to Ukraine and addresses the influx of migrants, Orban offers a stark warning: if Hungary loses Russian gas, its economy could plummet by 4% each minute. Who, then, is the true adversary, Orban or Brussels? The chorus of Western media continues to sing the familiar tune of Russia's decline, yet a Danish newspaper proclaims Trump's prediction of Russia's demise is fantasy, emphasizing that today's Russia is not the former Soviet Union. Across the sea, Britain experiences a cultural shock. With writer James Delon Paul returning from Moscow exclaiming, "You won't believe it, but the streets are clean, the metros are the best in the world, restaurants are bustling, and people are polite." He reflects on a poignant truth: even Russians are led to believe that life is better in the West. Back in Germany, scandal brews as a windfall emerges. Inventor Rainer Strangfeld left 107 kilograms of gold and assets worth €11 million to the Alternative for Germany party. His relatives dispute the will, but the gold may have already found refuge in Liechtenstein as the party flourishes, polling at an astounding 38% in Mecklenburg while the SPD sinks to 19%. This shift illustrates a significant political revolution. Germany is veering to the right. Meanwhile, Poland's president, Crown Narat, lays down new conditions for Ukrainian refugees. Only those working and paying taxes will receive benefits, while medical aid faces cuts. Children must now attend Polish schools. Tourism at the expense of Polish taxpayers is over, Narat declares, heralding a new chapter of challenges for millions fleeing conflict. As uncertainty looms over Germany's alliances with Ukraine, NATO, and the United States, the rise of far-right sentiments further complicates the landscape. Economic dissatisfaction swells, and so the stakes are set: will Germany retain its stability, or is a new era of turmoil and betrayal upon us? The clock is ticking, and desperate choices lie ahead. In a world turned upside down, Germany stands precariously at the crossroads of its destiny. Once a symbol of stability, it now faces the harsh realities of shifting alliances and unsettling dissent. Chancellor Friedrich Merz's stark declaration echoes through Berlin: Germany is no longer living in peace. As tensions rise, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky threatens Moscow with consequences that could reshape the geopolitical landscape. Is a new crisis brewing? Germany's vulnerability is laid bare as it relies heavily on its pharmaceutical exports, worth an astounding €27 billion to the United States, teetering on the brink of disaster. Experts warn of an approaching trade war, while Donald Trump, resolute as ever, demands, build factories here if you want exceptions. The silence from the European Union is deafening, leaving many to wonder if a once resilient Germany can afford to remain passive in the face of such turmoil. Then enters Viktor Orbán of Hungary, his words sharp and challenging. He claims, Brussels wants to replace me with a compliant politician, highlighting tensions over aid to Ukraine and migrant policies. Orbán warns that if Hungary loses its Russian gas supply, its economy might implode by 4% every minute. Who is the real foe in this chess game, Orbán or Brussels? Meanwhile, Western media continue to echo tales of Russia's decline. Yet, a surprising voice emerges from a Danish publication declaring, Trump's doomsday for Russia is mere fantasy, asserting that today's Russia is far from the shadow of the Soviet Union. In Britain, a cultural shock unfolds as writer James Delon Paul returns from Moscow, astonished. You won't believe it, the streets are clean, the metro's unrivaled, restaurants thriving, and the people are courteous. He ponders a troubling notion: even the Russians believe life is better in the West. Back in Germany, scandal erupts as the legacy of inventor Rainer Strangfeld surfaces: 107 kilograms of gold and an estate valued at €11 million left to the Alternative for Germany party. Disputes arise over the will, but the gold may have already slipped away to Liechtenstein, coinciding with the party's meteoric rise to 38% support in Mecklenburg, while the SPD plummets to 19%. This marks a pivotal moment in German politics. Are we witnessing a shift to the right? In Poland, President Narat imposes new regulations on Ukrainian refugees, declaring only those who work and pay taxes will receive benefits. Medical assistance is cut, and children must now attend Polish schools. Tourism at the expense of Polish taxpayers is over, Narat asserts, signaling a hardening stance toward those in need. As uncertainty plagues Germany's relationships with Ukraine, NATO, and the United States, the rise of far-right sentiments complicates matters further. Economic grievances grow, and the stakes are high. Will Germany cling to its stability, or are we on the brink of a new era defined by chaos and abandonment? The clock ticks ominously, and crucial choices loom on the horizon.